Mario Cristobal entering his third season with the Miami Hurricanes, looking to bounce off of a 7-6 season last year. The Miami Hurricanes add some depth to the quarterback along with many other positions. We're heading down to Miami, Florida to give you an inside look of the Miami Hurricanes football program heading into the 2024 season. A make or break it year, some might say, for head coach Mario Cristobal. I'm Nathan Johnston here with my co-host Brad Hopkins. It's time to break the huddle. Brad, as I mentioned, 7-6 last year, 3-5 in the ACC, a very disappointing year for the Miami Hurricanes, but they were able to build upon year one nonetheless. Now they head into year three. What can we expect from Mario Cristobal? They bring in a great transfer quarterback in Cam Ward from Washington State. A lot of people thought he was going to go to the NFL. Then he was going to go to Ohio State. Then we didn't know what he was going to do. He finally ends up at Miami. Great addition for the Hurricanes and Mario Cristobal. Brad, I'll hand it off to you. Give us your take on the Miami Hurricanes, and is Mario Cristobal the right guy for this program?
Yeah, Nate, I have very mixed feelings. This is a guy, of course, Coach Cristobal, that was really very successful at Oregon, and he goes back to his roots there in South Florida and Miami. It's not been good. Calling out the Miami fans here, to see some of the crowds that they had at Hard Rock Stadium last year was an absolute embarrassment, and that's a shame for a very good program, an historic program there in Miami. But they need to really support their program there. I know Miami's got a really good NIL collective there too, so there's no reason that Miami can't be a very solid program. And you mentioned it's an interesting year too, because you've got Florida State, who's they've got a lot of roster turnover. Clemson, who is in an interesting spot. We've got some new look ACC teams. And then here comes Miami with a chance to, Nate, in my mind, to really be in the ACC championship. You mentioned Cam Ward, who I think is going to be the perceived starter. He is a very good player. A guy that I don't think is going to be the starter, but kind of flying under the radar is, and we talked about him here on Break the Huddle in the FCS playoffs, is Reese Poffenbarger. I believe I pronounced that right. But this is a guy that was the quarterback at the University of Albany in New York, who is not the biggest guy. He doesn't have the strongest arm, but man, he's fun to play football, and I'm curious to see where he ends up. I think he is obviously the heir apparent, I would guess, after Cam Ward is done this one season, but he's a guy to watch out for. But Nate, I want to focus on the defensive side of the football real quick, because I think that if Miami can improve on defense, like I said, they've got a chance to be really good. And I want to focus on three incoming true freshmen. They're all on the defensive line, and when you talk about the ACC and everything, if you can get after the quarterback and you stop the run, obviously you're in a good position. But I want to focus on, first of all, Marquise Lightfoot. He is an edge player out of Chicago, Illinois. Not a huge guy. He's going to need to put on some weight, but was a borderline 5-star, and I think is got a chance to play early there in Miami. Second guy is Armando Blunt. He is from the Miami area, Miami Central. Once again, a borderline 5-star guy there is going to need to, of course, put on a little bit more weight to play interior, unless, of course, they slide him outside. But the big fish, the big time guy, is Justin Scott out of Chicago, Illinois. Miami definitely recruiting national. He's a 5-star player, 6'4", 310. Miami has a chance to really, Nate, build a good defense with these three guys. And like I said, it's a big year for Mario Cristobal. I'm going to say that I think they need to win 8 games for him to get the heat off of him. I think they got a chance to do it. Like I said, the ACC to me is wide open. If Cam Ward and that offense can get going, I think these young defensive players can make this Miami team exciting. But I'm curious to see what it looks like for Coach Cristobal this year.
Yeah, Brad, you mentioned a lot of great points. Miami and Mario Cristobal have done a phenomenal job in the recruiting trail, both in the portal and for these true freshmen coming in. And you mentioned Reese Poffenbarger. He's a really talented guy. We covered him quite often, actually, later on in the season as Albany made their playoff run in the FCS playoffs. He comes in as a grad transfer, so I almost wonder if maybe there's potential for him to eventually become a grad assistant. He seems like a very talented guy when it comes to X's and O's. I wonder if he gets his chance to maybe start coaching here in the next couple of years at Miami. Maybe that's why he made the move. Another guy that I want to mention that's coming in, Isaiah Taylor, safety from Arizona. 5'11", 195 pounds. I think he was listed at 200 pounds. This is the son of former NFL legend Jason Taylor, who is currently the defensive line coach for Miami. So this is a great addition to the Miami Hurricanes as well. They bring in a new defensive backs coach. I think Miami is set to have a really, really good season this year. They brought in, like I mentioned, Cam Ward, just a talented, dynamic quarterback coming over from Washington State. And Brad, I think you would agree with me on this, along with the rest of the nation. He was able to do a tremendous job with the roster he had around him. It's not to say that Washington State had terrible players, but the type of guys that he's going to have around him in Miami, I have to think are going to be a lot better than what he had at Washington State.
Absolutely.
One of those guys that I want to mention that's going to be guarding him, that's going to be protecting him like a Secret Service agent, Zach Carpenter, interior offensive lineman, 6'5", 330 pounds, coming over from Indiana. This kid is something else. And look, I think Miami's heading in the right direction. Their spring game is coming up. If you want to catch their spring game, it's going to be at Hard Rock Stadium on April 13th at 2:30 p.m. Let us know in the comment section what you think about the Miami Hurricanes heading into the 2024 season. And if you're a Miami Hurricanes fan, show up to the stadium. Like Brad mentioned, no excuses.